So, you're building in the cloud. That's awesome. But let's be real. It can also be a pretty high-stakes game. You know, if you get it right, you can create something amazing. But if you get it wrong, well, things can get messy. And they can get messy fast. Today, we're going to dive into the master plan for getting it right from the start. The Azure Well-Architected Framework.
All right, so you've got this killer idea for an application, and you're ready to build it on Azure. But what's the plan? How do you make sure it's actually secure, that it's cost-effective, and that it's not going to just fall over the minute it gets a little bit of traffic? How do you navigate all that complexity to actually build for success?
You know, it really feels like you're putting together a giant puzzle sometimes, doesn't it? You've got all these incredible services and tools at your fingertips, but trying to fit them all together just right to meet your goals, that's a huge challenge. And if you go in without a solid plan, you're almost guaranteed to run into some really common and, let's be honest, pretty painful problems.
Yeah. Without a solid architectural blueprint, this is often where people end up. You might be staring down security holes you never even saw coming, or watching your monthly cloud bill just spiral completely out of control. Or maybe you build something that just slows to a crawl the second you get any real users. And these aren't just little tech hiccups. We're talking about things that can literally kill your project.
But what if you had a blueprint? I mean, a real set of proven best practices designed by the experts to guide every single one of your decisions right from day one. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about. Microsoft gives you this blueprint, and it's called the Azure Well-Architected Framework. So what is this thing, really? At its heart, it's a design guide. The best way to think about it is like having a world-class architect sitting right next to you, helping you make the smartest choices to improve the quality of whatever it is you're building. It's not a strict set of rules you have to follow. It's more like a powerful set of guiding principles.
And what's the end game here? What are we even aiming for with this guide? Well, these are the core goals. A truly well-architected application has to be able to handle failures. It's got to protect itself from threats. It needs to deliver real business value, be simple to operate, and of course, do its job effectively. This right here is basically the definition of success in the cloud.
Okay, so how does this framework actually help us hit all those goals? Well, it's all built on a set of foundational principles. You know, just like a strong building needs solid pillars to hold it up, a strong cloud architecture relies on these 5 pillars of excellence.
That's the magic number, 5. The entire framework, everything we're talking about, is built around 5 core concepts, or pillars. And these pillars give you a really comprehensive foundation for designing, building, and even reviewing any system you create on Azure. And here they are: reliability, security, cost optimization, operational excellence, and performance efficiency. Let's do a super quick rundown of what each one of these really means.
First up, reliability. This is all about making sure your application stays up and running, period. Can it handle things going wrong without collapsing? Can it recover automatically? Basically, is it there for your users whenever they need it?
Next, security. And this one is completely non-negotiable. It's about building your defenses into every single layer of your application to protect your data and your systems from all kinds of threats. We're talking confidentiality, integrity, the whole shebang.
Then we've got cost optimization. Now, this isn't just about being cheap. It's about being smart with your money. It's about getting rid of waste and making sure that every single dollar you spend on the cloud is delivering the absolute maximum value back to your business.
Operational excellence. Okay, so this pillar is all about how you actually run your application day to day. It covers everything from how you deploy your code, to your monitoring, to how you handle updates. It's all the stuff that keeps things running smoothly long after you've launched.
And finally, performance efficiency. Let's say you get a sudden massive spike in traffic. Can your application handle it? Can it scale up and down when it needs to without just wasting a bunch of resources? That's what this is about, being super responsive and efficient no matter what the load is.
Okay, so we've got these 5 really powerful principles, but how do we actually apply them? How do we go from these big ideas to making concrete decisions for our specific project? Let's take a look.
The framework is actually structured in layers to guide you down this path. You start with the big ideas, the pillars we just talked about. Then you apply them to specific types of workloads, like a web app or a data platform. And finally, you drill all the way down to service guides, which give you specific configuration tips for individual services like Azure Functions or SQL Database. It's a clear path from the 30,000-foot view right down to the nitty-gritty details.
Now here's what might be the most important part of this whole thing. Great architecture isn't about trying to max out every single one of these pillars to 100%. It's really an art. It's about understanding what the business actually needs and then making smart, balanced decisions. It's all about the trade-offs.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This quote from the documentation says it all perfectly. You just can't have everything all at once. Every single choice you make is going to involve some kind of trade-off. The key, the real secret, is to make these compromises consciously. You have to know what you're giving up and why you're giving it. Let's look at a classic example: security versus cost. Let's say you need the highest possible level of security. Well, that often means adding more controls, more monitoring, which in turn usually increases your operational costs. On the flip side, if your main goal is to optimize for cost, you might choose to use fewer redundant systems, which could potentially lower your reliability. See? Neither one is wrong. It's all about what's right for your specific application.
Look, adopting this framework isn't something you just do once. It's a journey of constant improvement, and the framework even includes this maturity model to show you the path. You start with the basics, getting the foundations right. Then you start optimizing your own code. Then you get it ready for production by making those key trade-offs we talked about. And over time, you learn from how it's actually being used and eventually strive to future-proof the whole system.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. The well-architected framework isn't some checklist you run through once and then forget about. It's a tool that you use over and over again to review, to refine, and to improve your workload as your business needs change and as the technology itself gets better.
Which really brings us to the final question you've got to ask yourself. Are you just kind of throwing services together in the cloud and hoping for the best? Or are you intentionally and deliberately building a system that is reliable, secure, efficient, and valuable? Because the difference between those two, well, it's everything.